Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Sammy, United People's TV. We're kicking off another week. The pre-season tour is done. I had a couple of naps yesterday because I was a little tired. We'll speak about the Liverpool game in a little bit of detail this morning. We'll also have a much wider conversation about just how you can see right down there. We've got such a big August coming up. July had its positives in the transfer market. But I think it's fair to say that United have still got the majority of their business to do in the next 4 weeks. Well, less than 4 weeks, 26 days. Season kicks off in 11 days against Fulham. Season technically, man. The game against City in the Community Shield is a glorified friendly, but it's going to be a game where United will absolutely be tested. I'll run through everything that happened in that game against Liverpool. I've already done it in my match reaction. We'll have a quick chat this morning as a community, and then we'll move on to transfers. We'll speak about the second bid that's expected to be going in for Ligt and Mazraoui. We're going to have a conversation around midfielders because I find that lack of movement, lack of noise, probably the most concerning. We'll speak about strikers. We'll speak about Sancho playing in the false nine. We'll speak about injuries, and you will fire in your comments as always. But it's been I would think it's fair to say a mixed pre-season so far, all right? Technically, the Community Shield counts as pre-season, so it's not quite finished. Who's here from the mod and the member gang? I'll have a quick hello. Have a quick hello. My brain isn't quite functioning 100% yet, just to let you know. Manoil, good morning to you. I haven't seen you in a while. Good morning to you. T, I saw you at the start of the show. Carl, you're there as well. And Josh, you'll be there as always. Terry, good morning to you. Hafiz, we've got Tony, Ray, Chris, John, Stephanie, Teresa, and Augustine. We've got Justin, Jay, and we've got Emmanuel on Facebook. Good morning to all of you. Please fire in your questions in your comments, and let's dive into it. And let's start the conversation with, well, the pre-season tour. So pre-season was first game against Rosenborg. We lost 1-0. Second game, we beat Rangers 2-0. Then we went on tour. We lost 2-1 to Arsenal. We beat Real Betis 3-2. And then we lost 3-0 to Liverpool. That's the weirdest 3-0 you're going to see in a while. It was a mixed pre-season tour. All right. And I think I might do my lunchtime video on it today, just sort of like pulling out the, if you want to pull some positives in the pre-season tour, what were they? And if you want to pull some negatives that we've definitely got to improve on, what were they as well? I'll probably do that with my lunchtime video. But I want to focus on the game against Liverpool first. This will be the first like 5-10 minutes of the show before we then move on and we speak about, well, overall, how that pre-season tour was. Steve, you're saying pre-season was disappointing. David, I'm not sad this morning. I'm just a bit tired, that's all. A lot's gone on. I've had a few late nights in a row. That's all. But that game against Liverpool, frustrating for a few reasons, really. Frustrating, firstly, for the fact that we should have been 1, if not 2-0 up, probably quite comfortably, by the time Liverpool got their goal. And it was an awful goal. I mean, Casemiro got sent to the shops. And just the goals that we conceded were just, I believe 2 of them were cutbacks. It felt like the sorts of goals that we were conceding last season. And in terms of our wastefulness in front of goal, I suppose it's no surprise considering we're not playing with a striker. We're playing with Jadon Sancho in the false nine. And Erik ten Hag spoke about it after the game. He goes, look, I mean, we created chances. We did create chances. What were the stats of that game anyway? In terms of chances created, let's have a quick look. Man United, 3 Liverpool. I imagine we had significantly more shots than them. Let's have a look. Well, there you go. Kind of it just makes it even more frustrating seeing this, really. Double the amount of shots, 8 on target. No goals. No goals. United were just wasteful in front of goal. And I can see it in the comments now. We really need midfielders. Our back line's going to be completely different against Community Shield. It's just like, You're looking at this team, and it was a disjointed preseason. All right, it really was, and a big part of that was United's players being successful in Euro 2024. So many of them getting to semi-finals or the finals in their respective competitions meant that we had Martinez. What starting 11 players were missing? You had Martinez, Shaw. I mean, if they're all fit. Martinez, Shaw, Dalot. So that's 3 of our back 4. Manu in midfield and Bruno. So that's 2 out of 3 of our midfield. Rashford was there. Garnacho may have started on the right, but Ahmed was probably quite impressive. Probably the biggest positive pre-season. That's another one in Garnacho. And if Højlund was fit, he would have been. But the overwhelming majority of our starting 11 wasn't there. However, there was still plenty of decent players there. But it was just the lack of. It's just a really frustrating game against Liverpool. It really, really was, man. If you want to pull the positives out of that game, I said this in my match reaction, and I stand by it. I think that game against Liverpool was the biggest test so far. Well, specifically against Mo Salah, was the biggest test so far for Harry Mas. And the question marks around him, of course they are. They're not question marks. He's 17. The areas of development for him are defensively. He's got a natural ability with the ball at his feet going forward. He's a very good attacking fullback. However, defensively is where the question marks are. And I think he showed some real maturity up against Salah. Really good defensive timing, when to put the foot in, when to step back, had the athleticism to cover the space when Salah ran into it. I think it was a game where he was really impressive. And I think it was a game where he really impressed Erik ten Hag. I think Harry Mas is a shoo-in to be part of this squad this season. We know that Madrid has gone for 2 months at least. Probably going to be more, isn't it? But at the earliest, Madrid comes back in 2 months. But I don't think he will. But Harry Mas is going to have a spot in that squad. I'm looking forward to seeing it. We'll speak about Casemiro next, all right? We'll speak about Casemiro next. And I think you all know what my position is on Casemiro. I've not exactly hidden it. It's just getting more and more apparent. Yeah, it just is. Nima saying it's just a pre-season. I'm sure we'll start the season with a victory. Look, pre-season, there's been times, was it under Van Gaal where we won every game in pre-season and then we lost the first game of the season? I don't know whether I made that up. But it certainly happened before, where United have had a stonking pre-season. You think it's all going to work out and then we go and lose the first game of the season. You're like, oh, great, brilliant. Pre-season it can't be the measure of whether you expect United to succeed or not. But pre-season, for me, was a massive indicator of just how much work is still required when it comes to the squad building that we need to do this summer. And that's what this summer's always been about, in my opinion. When your squad is good, right, and you can have the sort of the summer that Liverpool had, that summer where they signed Van Dijk and Addison for like 150 mil. 2 big money signings coming into a squad which is pretty much, ready to challenge. You just need those final pieces. Boom. Then you can do that. What Man United can't do that this summer. We need, and we've needed, 2 centre-backs. In my opinion, 2 central midfielders. You've also needed another attacker, potentially a full-back. Yeah, you've just got so much to do that this summer's been all about squad building. And Casemiro, man. It's not even a head-scratcher anymore. People have been getting, not everybody, but some United fans have been getting angry with me with Casemiro. I suppose in the same way that some United fans got angry with me with Ronaldo. It became abundantly obvious with Ronaldo quite early on that he just wasn't there. His body had just gone back a couple of yards. Mentally, he was still there, fresh as anything, but it's just, you could see the disconnect. And a lot of United fans didn't want to maybe admit that. I don't know what it was. There's a lot of Ronaldo stands as well. Anyway, Casemiro. What do you think is the most frustrating thing about watching Casemiro right now? Because you know what it is for me? It feels like it's his awareness. That's what I feel has dropped the most. Like the amount of times where Casemiro just gets like the ball nicked off his foot, or he just doesn't know that there's a player behind him, or he just doesn't know that there's. It's I don't know what it is with Casemiro, man. But against what was it, Real Betis, I said that Casemiro was looking a little bit better. You know, Casemiro was always one of those players where, a bit like Wayne Rooney, I suppose. A player where if he's missing for a few games and it takes him a while to come back in, then that's where he finds his form. And Casemiro is, okay, we'll give him the preseason. That was a better game against Real Betis, so you think he's going to build on that against Liverpool, and he just went, his arse fell out. People talk, yeah, mate, I'm so bored of his lunging as well, but it's just, I think the biggest weakness that we had in the squad going into the summer was at centre-back. However, I think there was a fair argument to be had about that biggest weakness existing in that particular position in midfield. That central midfielder whose main purpose it is to protect the defence, to win the ball back, and to get United going forward. And that's where Ugarte absolutely fits in. And I know that he doesn't have the progression that we want in the ultimate midfielder. And I don't think United are going to get the ultimate midfielder this summer. But United need to get midfielders. Kugotso, you're asking about whether Collier can play ahead of Casemiro. The Athletic this morning are suggesting that Collier could go out on loan. And if I was wearing a pair of glasses, I pulled him down and be like, really? You send him out on loan with the midfielder we've got? I'm going to read some of your comments out about Casemiro. Rob saying still doesn't realise the pace of games is now beyond him, but everyone remembers Michael Carrick, or Paul Scholes as well. Both of them dropped deeper as they got older because they realised that they didn't quite have the legs to do what they used to be able to do, so they dropped a little bit deeper where maybe the game was a little bit slower and maybe the game has changed quite a lot. Because I would say that's probably one of the most physically intense roles now, is that number 6 per se. Andy's saying it looks like it can't be asked. I don't think it's that at all, man. I don't think it's a lack of trying. I just think it's a lack of ability to actually do it. Everything just seems a little bit slower. Understandably so, he's getting older. We've got so much work to do in central midfield. And I said this after the game, after the Liverpool game. And again, my position on Wan-Bissaka, it's not that I've flip-flopped and people, probably, I don't know, people will start accusing me of that because, they love doing that. But my opinion on Wan-Bissaka has changed and shifted, I think it's fair to say, over the last 12 to 18 months. I thought there was no chance he was going to get into a Ten Hag squad. Then he proved me wrong, and I was like, fair play. Well done, Wan-Bissaka. And it reaches this point now. And I don't think, as a United fan, that you are able to complain about Manchester United's lack of playing style, about how United can't play it out from the back with the ball, and at the same time, want Wan-Bissaka to stay at the club. Because I think those two things are at loggerheads with each other. This one, of all the transfers, is probably the simplest one. Wan-Bissaka to West Ham, good luck. Have a great time until you play United, then be crap. And Mazraoui coming in. But with the Mazraoui situation now, we've wrapped that up into a double bid with De Ligt, which I'll speak about next. But Wan-Bissaka, that's another transfer that needs to happen. And we go to the board, right? And I'll speak about the transfers in more direct detail in a second. But this is where we're at. We know that the personal terms have been agreed with Wan-Bissaka, with West Ham. We're waiting. Has the bid actually gone in? I'm not sure whether the bid's gone in. It may have gone in, but not been enough. McTominay, with sales, there's still so much more to do. That's what I mean about it being a massive August. I'm confident we'll get some done. I am. Right? If this was last season and we still had the Glazers and we didn't have Ashworth, we didn't have Barada, we didn't have Wilcox, we didn't have any sort of football structure, I think there'd be an overwhelming sense of not impending doom, but I don't think there would be too many United fans that would have much confidence that we could get a lot of the stuff done in August that we need to do. Wan-Bissaka leaving, in my opinion, is one of those. Probably one of the biggest frustrations, I think, overall in that preseason. I mean, it has to be injuries again, right? Lenny Yola out for 3 months. Rasmus Højlund out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. Anthony went off, but then he came back on. He was fine. Rashford had injury concerns, but he was all right. And you know what I didn't realise? I didn't realise this. Like, just how many injury precautions and concerns there's been at centre-back, right? Erik ten Hag spoke after the game. We all know that Will Fish went off with an impact injury. He went off on a stretcher. Johnny Evans went off at half-time because he was ill. Victor Lindelof went off at half-time because he was a precaution. And before the game, Harry Maguire was left out as a precaution. So that means on the pre-season, whether it's precautionary, whether it's illness, or whether it's injury, Lenny Yoro's been out, Johnny Evans has been out, Victor Lindelof's been out, Will Fish has been out, and Harry Maguire's been out. Is that every centre-back that was on the apart from Reece Bennett? And Højlund on top of that, and a little bit of Anthony concern, and some Rashford. It's like, what are these players made of? What are they doing? What sort of... Christ, man, what is going on? How unresilient are these players? I don't know. I have no idea. Jeez, man. I mean, the good thing is that so many players are going to be returning to Carrington, and they're going to be training with the team this week ahead of City, but ahead of City in the Community Shield. If they're going to be returning, what, tomorrow? I don't know. I don't know what to expect on Saturday. Saying that, I didn't know what to expect in the FA Cup final when United turned up. I think there's a real... I'm going to be doing this... I'm going to do my tactical sort of analysis video tomorrow, where I always do it every preseason. I take a look at what we saw last season, compare it to this season, where are the differences? Because I think the game model is starting to, in my opinion, become a little bit clear. And it's definitely going to be more towards what we saw against Man City in the FA Cup final. Let me go and read a couple of your comments out. Cobby and Shaw will return today. I think Martinez returns today as well. Garnacho was back last week. Bruno was back last week. Xerxes is training at Carrington. Delo, honestly, it's like a whole team that's training at Carrington. That's how disjointed the preseason was in terms of the squad. People are still mentioning Amrabat. There's been no movement on Amrabat. None whatsoever. We need at least one central midfielder, and I would probably argue two, because you know full well the players that I think should be leaving. It should be Casemiro, it should be McTominay, it should be Eriksen, it should be Hannibal. McTominay is because of the price I think we'll get for him. Why is Hannibal not in capital letters? I think I've got OCD. Should be in capital letters. Come on, Sam. Sackable offence. Where's the consistency? Better. Right. We need to restructure our preseason, says Eric. Everyone knows what the preseason should be. The preseason should be, in an ideal world, 4 to 5 games within a 2-hour drive of Manchester, all local. Play Liverpool, play City, whatever you want to do. Keep it local, but that's not how pre-seasons go. Pre-seasons are an opportunity for Manchester United to push the brand. The global pre-season is where you will always see, and it's not just Manchester United, it's football. It's where you will see that clash of what is best for the players and best for the pre-season versus what is best for the club or best for the brand. That's what pre-seasons are. And it's frustrating because it hinders the team rather than helps the team. And that won't ever change. A couple of super chats here. Let me read these out. And Toby, gifted 5 memberships, dude. Thank you very much, man. Rex, you're saying he's made out of glass. He's made out of glass. Insert any United player here. He's made out of glass. That was supposed to be a chant. I didn't exactly sing that. It's, I mean, I don't know what it is. You can't be putting that down to the intensity of training sessions. It's pre-season. Pre-season is supposed to be hard. Training is supposed to be hard. I think I've said this before. Training is supposed to be harder than the thing you are training for. Otherwise, if you don't train hard enough, when you go into the event you're doing or whatever it is you're doing, and you need that extra 5% because you haven't trained hard enough, you can't do it. So you'll fail. It's a really frustrating preseason. It is. You know what? Let's do this for a quick 5 minutes, all right? Quick 5 minutes. Fire in any positives that you had from the preseason, and we'll fire in any negatives as well. I'll put them up. We'll do the positives first, and then we'll do the negatives after, okay? And I might do this myself as well, but I'm going to have this as a community one. But any positives you think from the preseason, fire them in the comments below. I'll put one in to start, right? Positives. Harry and Mass. Ooh. Ahmad. For sure, both of those two. I thought Collier was quite impressive too. Rashford's sharpness, yep. I thought Collier was quite impressive, if I'm honest. What else you got down there? Young players impressed overall. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Mason Mount. I thought Mason Mount looked fit. Fitter, I'll give him that. Didn't look fit. I don't know. That's probably about it. I was quite impressed with Collier. Maybe some of you weren't, but I was. Right, I'll put those down as the positives. Actually, no, that's a fair one. I think that's actually quite a good one. I thought United's tactic, in terms United's press was a lot better. The shape of the team. I think that was a significant improvement actually. Right, let's go to negatives. Well, I think I know where you're going to start here. Injuries in capital letters. Fire in your negatives. All right. I'm putting Euro down there as a double. We're going to get another one there over the positives list. Rude. Yeah, you know what I found a little bit? So players playing who were trying to sell was a bit of a weird one. I can't not put Casemiro down there, can I? Now, people think Anthony's attitude. I'm not sure Anthony really did wrong. He's just not particularly good enough. Lack of threat on goal. I wouldn't say it's lack of. I would say it's lack of finishing overall. Because I thought that was definite chance creation. Oh, geez, that's definitely one. Cutbacks, bloody hell. Why in the world are we still conceding cutbacks? So frustrating. Lack of sales, if you want to do that. Not enough signings made. I'm not sure what that's got to do with the preseason. That's kind of just to do with United overall. Right. I'll leave those there. I think it's pretty fair to say there were probably more negatives than there were positives in the preseason tour. But that's what I put down there in terms of community one. I might do a list of that at lunchtime today. But we'll move on now and we'll speak about transfers because I think it's fair to say that United have still got better. That United have still got, in an ideal world, if we get it all done, I think we've still got about 70-ish% of our transfer window to complete. Maybe not 70, 60%. There is still a lot to do. Let's move on, right? Second part of the show is going to be about transfers. Have a quick drink. And let's start by having a conversation around the main transfer that should be going ahead, and that is Ligt and Mazraoui. I covered it on Friday. It was a surprise. I think Ornstein came with the news mid-show, which happened a couple of times this summer. Came in with the news that Man United are putting a double bid for Ligt and Mazraoui together, which I thought was an interesting approach, and I think it's actually quite a smart approach. But this is what Fabrizio's saying. He's saying that Manchester United have made it clear to Mazraoui and Ligt via their agent that they will bid again. So Man United had a bid rejected on Friday. We don't know exactly what that price was. It's quite interesting, isn't it, that there's been no... I don't think I've seen the price being said by anywhere, really. Just pure speculation. So Man United have managed to keep that price under lock. And Fabrizio, who's obviously got links to the agent, is it Rafael Pimento? I think it is. I think she was has she replaced Raiola? I think she was Raiola's second in command. I think that was her. But United are going to go back in with a second bid. I don't really think there's going to be too much of a need for massive amounts of negotiation on this one, because I imagine Man United's bid, and I'm imagining this, I'm speculating, but given that Bayern wanted 50 million plus add-ons for Ligt and they wanted around 20 million for Mazraoui, that's 70 million in total, I'd be surprised if United's bid was less than 50. And I think that they will still... Reports are suggesting that they would accept a bid around about 60 mil. It feels quite straightforward to do. Ish. And someone down there, was it Leela? I completely disagree with this comment, by the way. A negative is not going for alternatives and still focusing on the same players this summer. Man United went after Todibo, and Todibo didn't work out because UEFA blocked it. Then we went after Branthwaite with 2 bids, and then they rejected both of those. So we moved on from Branthwaite. We already signed Yoro, and then as well on top of that, we've gone for Ligt. So far from it, for Manchester United, I'm not focusing. It's nowhere near a Frenkie de Jong situation. But I hope this one gets done. This one just needs to get done sooner rather than later. We're at the point now where, right, okay, players have missed a preseason tour, but we've got 11 days. Is it 11 days? 11 days until we play Fulham on the 16th to kick off the Premier League season on a Friday night at Old Trafford. For there to be any chance of Mazraoui and Ligt feeling settled-ish, as settled as they possibly could be, these need to be in Manchester and deal done by Friday. That gives them 1 week. It's nowhere near enough time, but hopefully should be enough for them to settle in a little bit. So Friday is probably the deadline where, in my opinion, I would say, for signings to be made, where there is a chance that they will feel a little bit settled. They'll have a few training sessions under their belt. They'll meet all the players, and they could possibly be written. Possibly be ready. You know when you read something and you say, Lee Glazebrook, I missed the handwritten board. You've gone too modern. That handwritten board is that's retired. All right, that's not coming back out because that was exhaustive to keep up to date. This one feels like it shouldn't particularly take much negotiation, in my opinion. But this is my concern, right? My concern isn't around those 2 signings. My concern is around this. What is going on with a midfield signing at our club? All right. You look at our midfield options. Kobbie Mainoo, of course, wasn't on the preseason tour, and Bruno Fernandes wasn't on the preseason tour. And Casemiro won't be starting, or shouldn't be starting there. So I would say Man United didn't have any of our midfield for the entirety of the preseason tour in terms of what we think should be starting in the first game against Fulham. Now, Ugarte. This one feels very much directly related to sales and the lack thereof. Because we agreed personal terms with this dude. Must be like Virgin on 3 weeks ago now. And still no movement. I think United are probably still trying to negotiate the loan offer. Loan with an option is the dream transfer for United. Not very good for PSG, but a dream situation for United, given how little money we have. And it's so frustrating. And if I was to predict it, I would personally expect Manchester United to be hampered financially probably this summer, and I would say next summer as well. And once those 2 summers are out of the way, the books should be more back in order. The wage bill will be significantly less. We should be able to do better on sales. There should be players who leave the club that shouldn't be here anymore, blah, blah, blah. I think a couple of summers is what it's going to take for everything to sort of, for the housekeeping, the accountancy housekeeping that Ineos are doing. And yeah, Verti, I completely agree with you. We are waiting on sales for any movement with Ugarte. But it's such a concern, man. Centre-back was, I think, the biggest weakness that we had going into the summer. And I think you've seen United admitting that. We've already signed Lenny Yoro. And the next biggest signing that we're trying to make is also a centre-back. After we signed Xerxes. Aaron is saying, why can't we sell Casemiro? You know the question. You know the answer to that, dude. How old is Casemiro now? 31? 32. Casemiro's 32. He's on north of 300 grand a week. Casemiro will not be getting into any starting 11 team, really, at the elite level anymore. And we're all looking at him as a perfect signing for Saudi Arabia if they're just signing players simply to bring exposure to their league, and that's where Casemiro is elite level. But he's 32 and his wages are north of 300 grand a week. It is a product of Manchester United completing a short-term, very expensive signing with no concept of any sort of long-term planning. If United looked at the alternatives to Frenkie de Jong with a long-term vision, nobody would have looked at Casemiro. None whatsoever. In the short term, we had a great season. I loved watching Casemiro. United, with and without Casemiro that season, were 2 different teams. Short-term thinking. That is what Casemiro was. That's why it concerned me when we signed him. And that's why we're seeing Man United now struggling to sell him. Man United wanting to bring in Ugarte, but Man United not being able to bring in Ugarte. We're hampered by our own failures. Our own previous squad building failures are hurting our ability right now to build the squad that we're trying to this summer. So we've shot ourselves in the foot. Completely shot ourselves in the foot. It's a product of mismanagement of our football club for years. I'm going to go down and read some of your comments here. Who else saying, I think by the end of the window, once he realises he won't be starting, I think he'll go. I don't think he will. I think Casemiro will be absolutely fine competing for a spot in Manchester United's starting midfield. Who could blame him? When Casemiro leaves Manchester United, that will be him leaving one of the biggest 5 clubs in the world, and it will be the beginning of the end of his career. Of course, he'll want to hold on to that. And he will do everything that he can. I'm telling you, I'm not having a go at Casemiro's professionalism. I think he's really, really trying. He's just not good enough anymore. And it might be harsh and a non-empathetic thing to say, but it's a football club, man. It moves on, right? When Tyrell Malacia came in, he'd showed so much promise in that season. Then he got injured for 18 months. And now we've got Harry Mass coming through. Football moves on. Doesn't mean I'm an arsehole. Just mean that football moves on. And, I don't know. Why can't we do a Juve and freeze players out? I mean, we did freeze play around. We froze out Jadon Sancho last year. What are we saying down here? If we play the same squad players as last season, I think it's going to be a long season for us. Yeah, it will be. Everyone knows that. Casemiro dropped from the FA Cup final. Wasn't that where there were weird reports, I don't know whether they were true or not, that said that Casemiro found out that he wasn't in the starting 11 and then all of a sudden he became unavailable. Yeah, I forgot he dropped. I didn't forget he dropped him for the FA Cup final. Al was saying Ten Hag should have been a grown-up and rejected the Casemiro acquisition. Dude, that is not... At that point in time, that was not on Eric Ten Hag at all. Ten Hag said, go out and get me Frenkie de Jong. United said, all right, we'll try. 13 weeks, however long it was later, we didn't sign him. And he goes, John Murto's like, I've got a good alternative. Casemiro, got it lined up. Real Madrid must have actually burst out laughing when United came in with a £70 million bid. Did they sign Tchouaméni for less than that? I'm going to guess so. Real Madrid sign Tchouaméni. Oh, never mind. Jeez. They signed him for 80 million euros plus 20 million euros in add-ons, so 100 million euros for Tchouaméni, and they sold Casemiro for 80, 85. Damn. Damn, that is some squad building right there. And I guarantee you there would have been lots and lots and lots of Real Madrid fans that would have been absolutely furious that Real Madrid sold Casemiro when they sold Casemiro. Real Madrid did it anyway. Real Madrid bought in Tchouaméni, and Real Madrid have since continued to shine. What the fans want isn't necessarily what is right for the club. But the club actually have to have the people in charge who are clever enough and smart enough and strong-willed enough to actually just continue down their path. It's painful, man. So obvious that we need to replace Casemiro, but we just can't because we've given him so much money, and he's of the age that no one's going to sign him. And now we can't sign Ugarte as a consequence. We're just stuck in this stalemate, I suppose, that we created. Halftime oranges. Whatever Casemiro did in that off-season after year one needs to be studied. The guy completely fell to pieces. I don't know what he did. But I'll be totally honest, halftime oranges. In that second season, at United, we switched tactically as well. So physically, that role that he played became significantly more demanding in the second season compared to the first season. Rex, you're saying, could you say the same thing about De Ligt? The club wants him gone, but the fans don't. I think it's a little bit different with De Ligt. When Real Madrid sold Casemiro, he was 30, and they were signing Tchouaméni, who was a younger, up-and-coming player in that exact same position. It was like out with the old, in with the new. De Ligt leaving at the age of 24, and Jonathan Tah coming in at the age of 27, 28. I wouldn't say that's in with the old, out with the new. That's just sort of replacing a player with somebody else. Slightly different, and I think if Bayern Munich didn't need to... Bayern Munich didn't need to sell, they might not be selling him, but they do need to sell. Even Bayern Munich need to sell. Like, financially, even the biggest clubs in the world are struggling. Gaz, good morning to you, dude. Gifting 10 memberships. Ledge. Lenny. Feel sad doing that now. I might have to say that soundboard for when Lenny O is actually back. Let me go and read some of your comments out down here. Lost the 2 opening games, no number 6 and Ten Hag. Option of Casemiro, nobody. Not the manager's fault. The people above are useless. United, the people above are not useless anymore, all right? That's just not true. We've got Dan Ashworth, we've got Omar Barada, we've got Jason Wilcox, we've got Christopher Vavell. We've got people in place. But they are struggling with the financial situation of Manchester United. It feels quite obvious. It's felt obvious for a while that Man United, right now, we're blocked by our own lack of sales. And United are going to have to do probably more. I'll be honest, I would expect more of this, right? Van der Beek going for 400 grand. It was a joke. But he's off our books and we save on the wages. Woody Cambuala, I think that was a little bit underpriced. But we got a good sell-on clause. There's wages that are saved there. And I think United are going to have to start looking at that. I don't think they're going to terminate Casemiro's contract. I don't think they're going to pay out on that because there's no way that would happen. But we need Ugarte. We need a midfielder, at least one midfielder in. We've got so much to do in August. Type this into the comments, right? How many signings and how many sales do you think United kind of need to do for our squad to be in a position where we feel we can compete for the top four and win the Europa League, which they're going to be our aims, right? They're going to be our aims next season. Jonah, I'm not going to be putting wages tally saved at the bottom, dude, because wages, there's only ever... you can't be completely accurate on those. And I've already doing enough information. It already is information overload on here. Let's not go crazy. But how many signings and how many sales do you think we need? Andy on Facebook is saying you need 3 in and up to 7 out. 10 overall, says someone. 6 out, 6 in, says Jonah. So we've got, what? 2 in. And how many sales have we got so far? Greenwood and Cambuala can count as sales. I suppose you can technically count Van der Beek as well. Don't know. 5 in, 5 out, 4 signings, says Al. Stevens. Got 6, says Al. 4 in, 5 out. Either way, this is my point I'm trying to make. We have got a massive August ahead. July, we had our positives, all right? The Lenny Yoro signing felt like a wow signing. And now he's missing for 3 months with injury. With a meta, thank you very much. Brilliant. Yeah, great. Cheers, football gods. Joshua Xerxes, we're still yet to see him kick a ball, but he's been training the whole of last week at Carrington. He's got the whole of this week to train as well. He should be fit, but not match fit. Obviously, we all know there's 2 different levels of fitness. So Xerxes probably won't be fit to start against City in the Community Shield, but probably will be fit to come off the bench. But we need at least one midfielder, right? We go back to the ball one last time. Man United need to... You know what? Man United need to sell McTominay because of the impact that would have on the bottom line. I think selling McTominay and probably, in my opinion, selling McTominay and Casemiro are the 2 sales that I think can make the biggest difference between now and the end of the summer for United. McTominay because it will be pure profit because he's an academy player, and Casemiro because of the wages that we would save from him. It's like Varane. Varane and Casemiro together were on somewhere between 600 and 700 grand a week on wages. Man United need both Casemiro. We don't need McTominay to go, but unfortunately for McTominay, he's the one who can make the biggest difference to the bottom line, and that would be the reason why he would be a priority to sell. And of course, right now, he's one of the only ones that's actually moving. Nobody wants Hannibal. Hannibal has no place inside this squad this season. Really none. Eriksen, I think Eriksen will stay out and see his contract out, and he'll play a couple of times or a few times next season, and I won't really be offended by that. I think there's going to be certain situations where Eriksen could probably be an asset to the team. I can't see that with Hannibal. I just don't see a position where he's got inside the squad. I think Hannibal's opportunity is gone. I don't think he's matured or developed enough as a player, and that rashness, that sort of youthful exuberance that was infectious about Hannibal, it's now a problem in his game. He's not developed enough, and I don't think there's a spot for him inside that squad. Sancho, PSG were linked with him, all gone quiet. Pelistri, Panathinaikos, they were linked with him, it's all gone quiet. But again, there's going to be no spot in the squad for Pelistri, so we should be selling him. Anthony, I'd love to sell this summer, but I don't think that's going to happen. Lindelof, we should be selling this summer, but I have no idea who's actually going to be our centre-backs right now. And Wan-Bissaka, that should be going through. Sales are needed. And in terms of the active ones, it's De Ligt, it's Mazraoui, and it's Ugarte. And probably more on top of that if, in an ideal world, we can get it. But I don't know. Yeah, I know Hannibal didn't work out on loan either. It was everybody, maybe not everybody. I mean, clearly not because he chose there. but it seemed weird to go to Sevilla to get involved in a. I think they were massively in a relegation scrap, rather than just moving to Merseyside. Of course, Everton were in a relegation scrap, but I think that would have suited him more. And Sean Dyche, I think, would have been a good manager for him. Instead, he went to Sevilla, had disciplinary problems, got dropped out of the squad. Daniel, it's not. You make that sound personal. You really don't like Hannibal. It's not that I don't like him. I just don't think, mentality and attitude-wise, he's got what it takes to be a Manchester United player. And I would wish him all the best, and I would shake his hand and say, good luck elsewhere. Go and have a great career. But I don't think it's going to happen at United. I think United should be selling him and getting a sell-on percentage. Here's what it is. Problem with sales, a good comment there to end the show, says Dr. Rig. Problem with sales is you need buyers. True enough. And with United, well, this is why it's going to take a couple of years for us to truly be able to build our squad. I'm going to wrap up today's show. A bit of a, not a moody feeling, but I think it's a frustrated feeling I think United fans have got. Well, certainly I've got after the pre-season tour. We've got City on Saturday. I'll have my starting 11 show going out on Thursday for that. Tomorrow we're going to have a tactical look at this season versus last season. And there's a lot of content I've got planned for this week. I'll figure out what I'm going to do at lunchtime today. Thank you all for tuning in. Please do drop a like on the video. I only managed to remember 47 minutes into the bloody show. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here at lunchtime today too. And hopefully we get some here we goes this week because we need some movement. August is a big month and there is a lot to do.